Yeah.
Can't wait to see y'all.
Yes,
And I just want to say I'm proud of y'all, especially the girls. I mean, all of y'all, man. Just for being strong. Thank y'all for being strong, and thank y'all for being by my side and supporting me. I love y'all.
Diddy's 55th birthday this year was far from ordinary. The music mogul, famous for throwing extravagant parties that wowed Hollywood, spent his big day in one of New York's most notorious jails. Talk about a major twist. Could these shocking videos be the final blow? Instead of his usual lavish parties with designer clothes, celebrities, endless champagne, and A-list guests, this year's birthday was a far cry from the glitz and glamour. Diddy's celebration took place behind prison walls, with guards watching over him and, most likely, a very plain slice of birthday cake. You can almost hear the birthday song bouncing off those concrete walls. But hey, it's still Diddy. His kids called in to wish him a happy birthday, with 6 of them singing a slightly off-key version of Happy Birthday. It wasn't the glamorous celebration he's used to, but the thought behind it still meant a lot. Oh, how things have changed. Remember those iconic white parties? Celebs from the early 2000s would fly in on private jets, sipping crystal-clear vodka and rubbing shoulders with the biggest names in the industry. It was the perfect mix of fame, fortune, and fashion. And let's not forget the wild rumors about what really went down behind closed doors, stories that almost became legendary. It's hard not to laugh when thinking back on those days. But what happened at Diddy's mansion? Well, it didn't stay there, especially once the feds got involved.
I love eating all your cake, so you're not going to have none left.
She's literally digging her face in it.
Yeah. You're going to have to buy you a new one. Yo, she's face down in the cake right now. Say hey,
This year, instead of champagne and poolside cabanas, Diddy got a taste of the fine dining jail has to offer. A cold sandwich and maybe some mystery vegetables that might not have even been cooked. It's a far cry from the days when his parties had sushi flown in from Tokyo or truffle pasta served at 3 a.m. to a dance floor full of models. This time, there was no caviar, no chilled crystal, just some bread, mystery meat, and maybe powdered juice. And the location. Not his luxurious estate or a beachfront mansion, but the Metropolitan Detention Center, a notorious jail known for its terrible conditions. It's a place where the toilets freeze in winter, the heat doesn't work, and the food is so bad even Sam Bankman-Fried complained. Who would have thought that the man whose parties once inspired reality TV would now be stuck in a cramped jail cell, trying to get some rest on a mattress as thin as a slice of toast? Life really moves fast.
Is underway into an inmate death. Bernalillo County says an inmate at MDC died yesterday. UNMH hospital medical team responded to an emergency at the facility and tried to save the inmate until Albuquerque ambulance and Bernalillo County Fire and Rescue had.
It's almost hard not to laugh at the contrast. There's Diddy, who used to throw epic parties with Leonardo DiCaprio, Jay-Z, and Naomi Campbell, and now we're just grateful to hear his kids singing to him through a crackly jail phone. Honestly, if they tried to light a candle for him, the guards would probably consider it a security threat. The man whose birthday fireworks once lit up the sky now has to settle for flickering fluorescent lights overhead. So, how did he end up here? Well, it's a small matter of serious charges like intimate trafficking and racketeering. Those legendary private parties of his? Turns out they weren't just about champagne and good vibes. Federal prosecutors claim Diddy used his wealth and power to pressure people into what they're calling freak-offs. These weren't your average party games. Apparently, the events involved cameras, substances, lubricant, and people who weren't there by choice. Definitely not the kind of after-party you'd see on Instagram unless it ends up in a courtroom. Diddy's legal team argues it was all consensual, just a little wild and weird, but everyone knew what they were signing up for. However, not everyone agrees with that. One witness testified that they showed up expecting a regular party, only to find Diddy in a robe, champagne flute in hand, waiting for something very different. The kind of awkward situation you can't fix with an Uber ride, especially when you're far from home, and it's not just intimate trafficking. Diddy's also facing racketeering charges, accused of using bad boy entertainment to run a criminal operation, from kidnapping to forced labor. His rap sheet is almost as long as the guest list at one of his legendary parties. Plus, new charges could be coming soon, as more witnesses step forward and grand juries get involved. It's starting to look like this birthday behind bars might not be his last. Even in this bleak setting, Diddy sounded almost upbeat during the call with his kids, telling them, "I'll see you in a couple of days." The "I've got the best family" speech. He's holding on to whatever optimism he has left. Maybe prison's changed him, or maybe he's just trying to stay hopeful.
Get extra comfortable, but this thing turns into something that when y'all get older, y'all don't want to come to.
Meanwhile, Diddy's defense team is working hard to get him out on bail, arguing that he's not a flight risk. But let's be real. How far can he go when he's one of the most recognizable faces in pop culture? The judge isn't buying it, though. No bail, no house arrest, just a sit-tight order. For now, Diddy's stuck in the Metropolitan Detention Center, and his next birthday might look just like this one. It's a far cry from the man who once starred in million-dollar music videos, flaunted yachts, and wore custom-made silk robes. Now, he's dealing with metal bunk beds and no privacy. There's definitely some irony in that. Even the untouchable have to face the consequences of their actions. Maybe the next time we hear about a wild Diddy party, it'll be after a courtroom session. Whether he wins or loses, it's worth remembering those glamorous days. You know the ones, the Hamptons parties where guests had to wear all white, no exceptions, making ordinary parties look like kids' birthdays. Helicopters overhead, paparazzi everywhere, and everything catered to perfection for people who already had it all. Those parties, where the fun didn't even start until sunrise, were Diddy's domain. But now, the only thing rising at the Metropolitan Detention Center is the number of complaints about the temperature. People loved to speculate about what went on behind the scenes of those private parties, and Diddy didn't exactly discourage it. He was a master at keeping people guessing, hinting at events even wilder than the ones the public saw. But now, the freak-offs prosecutors are talking about? That's a whole new level of scandal. If the authorities are right, Diddy's private gatherings weren't about luxury, they were about manipulation. His charm, once his greatest asset, may have been used to pressure vulnerable people into situations they didn't agree to. It's a wild shift, from velvet ropes and guest lists to cold metal bars and inmate rosters. Definitely not the kind of VIP treatment anyone dreams of. But there's still something oddly fascinating about watching someone who was once on top of the world fall so far. Diddy, once the larger-than-life party king, is now facing the consequences of the very lifestyle that made him famous. Federal agents didn't miss a beat when they raided his properties earlier this year. They found cameras, substances, and everything that screams excess. Except now, that excess is evidence in a criminal trial. Back in the day, Diddy got whatever he wanted without much resistance. But now, the resistance is coming from the legal system, a place where even his charm and money are being put to the test. The prosecution isn't holding back. They're dragging everything into the light, every witness, every piece of evidence, every whisper about those private parties. There's no velvet curtain to hide behind now. The grand jury hearings are in full swing, and witnesses are lining up to testify. Some even claim they have tapes of these freak-offs, and these aren't just shaky phone videos. These tapes could involve other celebrities and even minors. That's the kind of bombshell that could turn this case from explosive to nuclear. Diddy's defense team must be scrambling, trying to figure out how to argue against something that damning. They're sticking with their claim that everything was consensual, but if these new tapes prove otherwise, that narrative will fall apart. And if minors are involved, well, Diddy will be facing a whole new level of legal trouble. Consent isn't a defense when it involves children, and no lawyer can spin that away, but let's take a step back and think about the sheer absurdity of it all. This is the same man who not too long ago had the world at his feet. He was launching successful businesses, signing multi-million-dollar deals, and rubbing elbows with the global elite. Now, despite all that wealth and power, he's locked up in a notorious detention center, eating cold sandwiches, and hearing his kids sing him happy birthday over a jail phone. It's almost poetic in a twisted way.
Back in 1999, is now 31 and tells Inside Edition about taking
Family has stood by him through this difficult time. His kids have posted messages of support on social media and visited him in jail, probably one of the few things keeping his spirits up. His oldest son, Quincy, even defended his father on social media, calling out what he sees as conspiracy theories and false stories. It's hard not to feel for them, watching someone who once seemed larger than life now caught up in a legal battle playing out in the public eye. But even with all the family support, Diddy's reality has drastically changed. He's not in control anymore. He's living by the same rules as every other inmate at the Metropolitan Detention Center. Bad food, cramped quarters, and the sense of helplessness that comes with being locked up. There's no VIP section, no special treatment. The MDC is known for its horrible conditions. The heat barely works in winter, fights happen regularly, and people are desperate to get out. For someone like Diddy, who's used to controlling every detail of his life, this must be a complete nightmare. The recent sweep of the jail, where authorities found drugs, homemade weapons, and electronics, only adds to the grim picture. It's a dangerous place, and for Diddy, it's a far cry from the luxury he's used to. His lawyers are trying to get him out on bail, but the judge isn't budging. The prosecution has painted him as a flight risk and a danger to the community, and they're not backing down. No amount of fame or wealth is going to get him out of this one. It's a harsh reminder that, at the end of the day, the law is the great equalizer. No matter how many chart-topping hits or successful businesses you have, if you break the law, you'll face the consequences. Looking ahead, there's no telling what will happen next. The grand jury is still hearing new evidence, and more charges could be coming. If that happens, Diddy's trial might be delayed, meaning more time behind bars, more birthdays spent in jail, and even more distance from the life he once knew. It's a long fall from the top, and Diddy is living it right now. The man who once seemed untouchable is now at the mercy of the legal system, and no one can predict how this will end. One thing is for sure, though, this is not the story anyone imagined for him. From the glitz and glamour of his prime to the cold, harsh reality of a jail cell, it's a tale of excess, downfall, and ultimate regret. And maybe it's also a reminder that no one is above the law. Looking back at Diddy's famous white parties, they were the stuff of legend. Celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio, J.Lo, and Ashton Kutcher showed up dressed head to toe in white, like they were attending some kind of sacred summer gathering. The color white symbolized purity, unity, and innocence, at least on the surface. But in reality, those parties were far from perfect. Lavish locations in the Hamptons and St. Tropez set the stage, with gourmet dishes and a guest list curated to perfection. It felt like being part of an elite club, except instead of Kool-Aid, the drink of choice was $200 champagne. But behind all that white linen and those perfect smiles, there were secrets.
Oh, he's bad boy now.
Signing the bad boy.
Here's your icon alert. It's called He's Bad Boy Now. It's called Don't Ever Play Yourself.
Diddy's legal troubles keeps getting darker as more details emerge, and it's starting to feel like a real-life thriller. Behind the glitzy, over-the-top white parties where stars like Leonardo DiCaprio and J.Lo once mingled in crisp white outfits, there's now a much more sinister side of Diddy's world coming to light. These private gatherings, often referred to as freak-offs, are reportedly not just wild parties but carefully orchestrated events involving manipulation, coercion, and exploitation. According to new testimonies, Diddy didn't just host these parties. He allegedly controlled them like a twisted game of chess. Models, often young and unsuspecting, were brought in under the guise of VIP treatment and fun. However, once they arrived, they were met with something much darker. Instead of the glamorous scene they expected, they found themselves trapped in uncomfortable, even dangerous situations. Reports say there were hidden cameras recording these encounters, many of them without consent, painting a picture of a world far removed from the luxury and fame Diddy was once known for. Some have described the experience as a power trip, others as a hostage situation, with manipulation masked as indulgence. Celebrities who attended these private events, like Ashton Kutcher, have stayed silent on what they knew, or didn't know, about what was really going on. In one past interview, Kutcher's hesitant response to questions about Diddy's parties raised suspicions. Did they know more than they let on? It's hard to say, especially in a town where secrets are buried beneath layers of NDAs and carefully curated PR statements. In September 2024, Diddy's world came crashing down when he was arrested on charges of intimate trafficking and racketeering. Court documents laid out a disturbing pattern of manipulation and coercion, a stark contrast to the charming mogul many fans once admired. Now, the case is forcing people to ask tough questions about the culture of Hollywood, where power, money, and influence often shield the powerful from accountability. But as more victims come forward, the protective illusion is starting to crack. This case is exposing the ugly underbelly of the entertainment industry, one where bad behavior has been allowed to thrive unchecked for far too long. Diddy faces the fallout from his actions, His 55th birthday served as a chilling reminder of how far he's fallen. Instead of the champagne fountains and A-list guests he's used to, he spent the day in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, eating cold, tasteless prison food. It was a far cry from the luxury he once flaunted, a tough reminder that no amount of wealth or fame can protect you from the consequences of your actions. Of course, Diddy isn't the only celebrity whose birthday took an unexpected turn. Rapper Julio Fulio's birthday was marred by violence at a pool party, leaving one person dead and several others injured. Master P's birthday surprise, a flash mob in Santa Monica, was met with irritation instead of joy. Even Drake's October 2024 birthday didn't go as planned when his long-standing feud with Ludacris bubbled to the surface, overshadowing what should have been a celebratory occasion. Then there's Landon Barker, who found himself inadvertently caught up in Diddy's legal mess after attending a Diddy-themed party. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Oh, what's your take on Diddy's legal drama? Is this karma coming full circle, or just one big birthday disaster gone horribly wrong? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more updates as this story unfolds.